All right. Let's get right into it. What is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. We're going to go over a lot of stuff in a short amount of time, so let's get right into it. Of course, we have China says the trilateral nuclear disarmament talks with U.S. and Russia are unreasonable. This is exactly what we called. Of course, Putin was talking about an agreement that everybody kind of meet at a table and talk about nukes and possibly even disarming and even including China. When we heard that, we said China's not going to do that. China wants to catch up. They don't want to stop what they're doing. In fact, they have thousands to make to catch up, and they have no intention of stopping now. Well, the next day, of course, the obvious comes out. All of these, BS stories about peace and denuclearization, none of them are going to happen as long as you have a number one and a number two and a number three. We're going to talk about this and so much more on tonight's show, so stick around. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle TV. Let's get right into it, but before we start, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
Now, just to let you guys know, there is going to be a tiny fan sound. That will be off in just a second. It is 104 degrees in this studio. So I did have to turn on a fan, and I even have this little mini fridge. I'm just keeping the freezer open for a minute. Man, and that I think actually helped. I'm sure I'm getting Freon poisoning, but it feels so much nicer. First of all, the whole agreement, Dex, we talked about this. We laughed about this yesterday. Of course, they're not going to come to the table and say that they're going to stop making new nukes and
No way.
Why would they want to? Like, what would be their motivation, right?
Yeah, there's no way they're going to come to the table and say, yeah, let's just, we'll stop making it when we've got so few compared to the two big dogs. They want to be number one, so they have zero interest in having fewer nukes than, say, Russia, who has the most. Definitely not less than America.
Yeah, it's something like I think we have 3,700. We have 3,700. They have, Russia has like 4,200 or something like that. Yeah, it just... unbelievable amount. It could destroy the world 3 times over. All right, and then Xi unleashes China's biggest purge of military leaders since Mao. Now, this is something I actually think that this is a sleeper story. This is something that people are not going to pay attention to, and I think that people should be paying attention to stories just like this because when they alter things like this is something you really should notice. When they're changing out full regimes, like when he turned his cabinet into a war cabinet, that was something that people definitely paid attention to. This time, what was the reasoning behind this? Dex, do you want to go over that and who he actually removed, what ended up happening?
Certainly. So this is Xi's most significant purge, obviously since Mao Zedong era, targeting high-ranking generals, including those that he had personally appointed. The purge highlighted by the absence now of Vice Chair He Wengdong, at the routine April 2025 tree planting ceremony. So he was supposed to be there, and now he's missing. So he reduced the CMC, which is the Central Military Commission, to now 4 members. It's the smallest it's ever been since Mao's time. So since 2012, nearly a fifth of Xi's promoted generals have now been ousted, either probed or have gone missing. So it's a stark contrast to the predecessors of Xi, both Xi, Zhang Zemin and Hao Jintao. Neither one of them had any of their generals, probed or have gone missing. So they say it's for anti-corruption, that he was trying to initiate that, but it's also coming into light that this could be a sign that maybe he doesn't have as much control over his military. Doesn't have a lot of faith in them, and there's a lot fewer numbers of generals now that are even there. It's not like they've been replaced, so these numbers have been reduced, and a lot of people are questioning. So, of course, all eyes are going to be on the September 2025 Communist Party's 4th plenum, which is when they do that big military parade, because everybody's going to want to watch and see, what's the reaction with him and his current generals, and is anybody else going to be missing?
And as far as like when they start, taking these guys out, they said 17.7% of the generals were probed or went missing, right? That also could show that there are spies in his midst, that he doesn't trust them, like Dex said, that he doesn't have so much control, or he has caught them in some sort of thing. They could have done some sort of honeypot and caught some folks and taken them out, right? So this makes you wonder, too, is something going on, something much, much bigger, that these guys had to go? Or did they not agree with it? Did they not want to have blood on their hands? And they said, we're not going to do it. We saw a lot of their nuclear scientists that all kind of quit all at the same time. That was really, really creepy. It was almost as if they did not want to be a part of whatever was coming. And then, of course, we have frustrated Russians grapple with fuel crisis as Ukraine attacks oil refineries. So what they're saying is that huge attack, the 17.7 or 17% of their oil refinery capacity or something was knocked out by this huge hit. They're saying that it's actually affecting the Russians in such a way that people aren't getting gas. Now, we don't know what is propaganda or even real at this point in time, because all of the world's medias are just absolutely corrupt as hell. But you have a lot of actually good info mixed in with a lot of bad info. The thing is anything about Russia coming from our perspective, sadly, is going to be a bit skewed. And then, of course, their news about us is going to be skewed about us. But with this is something that if it is truly happening, this is going to make them, of course, or people look like Russia is getting weaker or that they are having these issues. But they've basically gone through every last sanction, every last kind of hit to their country, and only come back stronger. So it's kind of crazy, all of the things they've done to actually get around this. And I think it's because they have China on their side, they have Iran on their side, they have all of these countries that are essentially helping them work around all of these things. Dex, they said that some of these folks can't even get gas over there, that this was a huge hit. That means that if they really are struggling, if this did happen, then they're going to retaliate in a big way.
Yeah, that's a big deal. As we said yesterday, look, you'll see a ripple effect from this, and here it is, the first signs where people can't fill up their gas tanks. So, although isn't it interesting, the picture of the person there in the article is in Moscow, and it's like they have full service gas pumps. I haven't seen a full service gas pump in ages, but nonetheless, it's not Moscow that's affected. It's southeast Russia and the Crimea Peninsula area. All those areas are the areas that are mostly affected by the refinery outages. So that's where they're having a shortage of fuel and they can't fill up their cars.
Wait, is that Tucker Carlson's car? Oh my gosh, look at the bumper. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, it is kind of funky. I think a lot of Russia has full service gas. And every time I went into Oregon when I was a kid, I always loved that somebody would actually do it for you. Is there any states that even have that in the United States anymore? Is Oregon still that way?
I haven't seen a full service gas station in forever. I can't remember the last time I saw one.
Huh. Anybody in the chat, if your state still does that, is Oregon still that way? Oregon used to be full service. I haven't been there in a very long time. Bobby Sue, hey, thank you, mods. Black Clover Digital, thank you. Before the show even started, I believe somebody popped in with the super. Stephen McMahon, thank you as always. Says, off to the salt mine. Love y'all. Keep heads on swivels. I'll try to catch the show on my tablet. Hey, thank you, Stephen, and thank you for watching and also supporting even before the show even started. So thanks. And I hope you have a good night at work. But yeah, and then there's lots and lots of great people here already. A lot of old school Foogle fam that are popping in. Hey, Vivian, nice to see you. Drops Homestead, old school Foogle fam. Bobby Sue, our wonderful mod. Lord Andrew, Randy Man, Carol Bunnell, NT Gangster, Creek Runner, and so many more awesome people in there. Louisiana does. Oh, shoot, I didn't know that. I was just watching the documentary. Dex, have you seen the documentary about Katrina? The new one?
No, I haven't.
I assume you have to probably download it after it comes out. It's on Netflix, but it talks about Hurricane Katrina. And I was actually surprised how some of the parts didn't lie about what happened. I mean, it was pretty bad. There's a skew on it in a lot of ways, but we know people in Foogle fam that went through Hurricane Katrina. If you haven't seen that documentary, I would say go check it out. And if you were in Hurricane Katrina, what did you think of it? Because we have quite a few Foogle family members that went through that, and they said it was hell. Back a few years ago when everybody, especially followers of a certain number and a certain letter, were saying that they were excited for martial law. We had a great caller, able-bodied, that called in and told a 45-minute story of her time as a nurse, an actual, what was it? Yeah, she was a registered nurse during that time period. She had to be escorted by military to work to the hospital because it was so hellish. Now, the media made it look like, everybody was just, completely unruly. But, I mean, that was the government's fault. It took 5 days to get water to the Superdome. I've talked about this for years. I've talked about Hawaii and California and North Carolina and all of these just absolutely strange mess-ups. Of course, and it even talked about the theory, which we've talked about on the show, about the Ninth Ward, about how possibly in the Hurricane Betsy that they possibly blew up levees. So I thought that was pretty interesting to see that in a Netflix documentary, because usually it's the other way around and it's turning something around. But if you haven't seen it, it might be worth a try. And then, of course, before we go on, make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield if you are at all considering the possibility of an EMP strike or even a CME from our sun. If you're following all of the solar activity with somebody like Wages or others, then you probably know there's been a lot of crazy stuff during the solar peak. Go over and check out EMP Shield, because this is a device that will actually not only protect your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, but pretty much everything else as well that runs on a motor. Go over to marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. Again, that's marfooglenews.com/EMP and make sure to use the code MARF. It's easily wired in about 10 minutes into your car, and that way you will get home safely or get out to bug out. So, Dex, let's go over Russian forces break into another region of Ukraine.
Yeah, so they have now advanced into Ukraine's Dnipropetrovsk region. It's marking their 8th regional incursion in the ongoing war. This is being reported by the Ukrainian military, Viktor Terehobov. But the troops have entered the villages of Nurum, I know I'm butchering these names, and Zaporizhzhia, but they haven't actually established, at least they're saying they haven't established fortifications yet, although they're still fighting. Although Russian Defense Ministry claims they've captured these villages and they've captured and taken this new land or this new territory. So there's a little bit of back and forth as to what's the truth there, but it's about 1,000 kilometers across eastern and southeastern Ukraine. And that front line is, and Russia is occupying about 1/5 of that area. So obviously, including Crimea, which they already had. But at the same time, there's like no signs that this peace effort with Trump is getting anywhere. And, he even, I think we're about 4 days in, maybe 4 days ago, he said that he would know in 2 weeks if anything was going to change or what direction it was going to go, if he would we would be going down a direction of peace, or if you'd be going down a direction of, I guess maybe doing something against Russia, like sanctions or even more, or if you would just say, it's your problem, we're walking away. So maybe he'll hold to that date. I don't know, but that's about a week and a half out now, I would think. And it doesn't look like there's any signs that they're coming towards any semblance of peace or ceasefire or anything. I mean, meetings haven't even been called for. They're refusing to meet between Zelensky and Putin.
Well, also remember we said that. Let me turn this down a little bit. Also, remember he said that within a couple minutes of his meeting, his guess was a couple minutes of his meeting with Putin, he would know or not whether there was going to be peace. And of course, he also said that the 2-week kind of thing. It seems like a show. I'm not trying to put down Trump's efforts, but at the same time, it almost seems like we're getting this show of peace. At the same time, everything is escalating in the background. It's so weird because we saw Putin and Trump laughing and kind of joking around with each other and getting along, obviously through a translator. So how much of that is an act? Can Putin put on his KGB face and look innocent and nice and trick Donald Trump? Donald Trump is a businessman. He's dealt with a lot of snakes. Most half of the country thinks he's one, right? So he's probably dealt with his fair share of people that are dishonest. But you do see kind of over and over this pattern, especially with the first term, where he believed in a lot of people. He trusted a lot of people. And within months, it was like these people were two-faced. How did he not see that many people that were being two-faced? Or are politicians in general at that level, in the White House level, are they just that good at convincing people that they're being genuine? I've always seen through it, and I think a lot of people do. But there are, really smart people that watch these politicians on TV and in these Congress meetings screaming about Facebook and screaming about all these other places that feel like they're genuine and that they care about us. These people are in a completely different world. I've talked about it a million times. They, that woman complaining about not being able to wear her $12,000 dress on a Tuesday to Congress meetings. It forever changed. I'll never, ever see them the same. The fact that she has a $12,000 dress and she's mad that she can't wear it at work, I don't see that as like an equal rights thing. I see that as like you're an idiot for saying this out loud. Now we absolutely know we have no representation for us, right? $12,000 is your kid's college. $12,000 is a Toyota Camry. To them, it's their attire for Thursday. So, yeah. How are they thinking about us first? Where do their priorities lie? $100 at Nordstrom Rack, you could get a very beautiful dress. So, yeah. Russia warning as Vladimir Putin close to the first nuclear bomb test in 35 years. So this is something that, many people have commented. We talked about a potential test like last year. So many comments said, they do tests all the time. They've done this, and this, and this, and this. Many countries have actually not. What we see actual rocket tests. We see the ballistic missile tests, but we don't see actual live nuclear tests. The world waits as Russian President Vladimir Putin considers giving the green light to a nuclear bomb testing at the former Soviet Arctic site in the Novaya Zemlya archipelago. Russia is getting closer to renewing a nuclear bomb test for the first time in 35 years, a Moscow security expert has warned. Military specialist Dmitry Stefanovich, which we just talked about over the last couple of days, so he's been in the news a lot, is the latest to signal that Vladimir Putin could soon sanction the restart. It is claimed that the former Soviet Arctic test in the Novaya Zemlya archipelago is ready should the dictator give the order. Obviously, if the Arctic, I'm surprised. I'm surprised they haven't done tests already in the Arctic, considering their presence there. Russia has one of the largest presence in the Arctic, and the U.S. is actually trying to catch up. They even have us beat on things like icebreakers in the Arctic, and they're building some sort of pathway to have some sort of, strategic kind of pathway for World War III. Dex, as far as the Arctic, that would probably be a pretty good place to test a nuke. I don't know. Have we ever tested nukes in the Arctic regions? I know ours we're all in the desert, right?
Yeah, most of them were in the desert. Some were over the ocean. I don't know if there was ever any in the Arctic. I don't know what effect that may have or what challenges that may face, if it's easier or harder. But yeah, that would be interesting to see that happen.
Yes, for sure. Sean, thank you so much. And then a couple new members. Thank you. Mooey Garnett, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining. Randy Beasley, 1215. Thank you for joining the fam. I appreciate that. All right. And then thank you, everybody that is here just a little bit later than normal. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. All right. And I am fried today. I'm so ready for this heat wave to be over. Today was actually kind of a relief because it was about 5 degrees cooler, but man, it's just not fun without proper air conditioning. And then mystery Russian shortwave radio station drives nuclear dead hand fears. We've actually talked about this before. Dex, do you want to tell them what this whole thing is and why people are looking at it?
Yeah, so there's lately been massive renewed interest and buzz around, unintended, the Russian shortwave radio station known as UVB-76, or, quote, the buzzer, as they call it. It usually has a steady buzzing sound that comes across the radio broadcast, but then they occasionally interrupt it with cryptic Russian messages. And some think of it very similar to, say, like Sky Kings or EAM type messages. So the interest has been spurred as a result, obviously, of the Ukraine war, but more so, I think, all of the nuclear saber rattling and like even the talk we were just having about the nuclear tests happening. So, but for example, former Russian president and current Russian national security official Dmitry Medvedev just a month ago warned that the dead hand system, as they call it, is the automated nuclear retaliation mechanism. And he warned about that, and he was talking about it as in part of his back and forth with Trump. And he said, if some of the words for former president of Russia triggers such a nervous reaction from the high and mighty president of the United States, then Russia's going to do everything right and will continue to proceed along its own path. He said that's when he wrote that Trump should remember how dangerous the fabled dead hand can be. So as they continue to hear these broadcasts over UVB-76, a lot of people are, monitoring it, paying attention to it, and they're worrying about, is the uptick in the transmissions as opposed to just the buzzing sound that we've heard recently this year, and they're continuing to be greater and greater. Is that a sign? Is that, activity that is happening? Is that planning that is happening specifically that may be going on to further provide proof that a nuclear type event may be happening in the not too distant future?
Now, on December 11th, 2024, which is so crazy that this was now 9 months ago. Do you remember covering this when the Doomsday Station kind of buzzed? And
yes.
They did 24 transmissions in a single day. And it was very, I think we played the audio from it, right? Can you believe that? Has that really been 9 months ago? That can't be. That's nuts. It is so insane how fast time has been going. And then nothing has ever been decoded in these messages, or at least that we know about. So it is pretty interesting to see that buzzing, right? As Dex says, no pun intended. And then this is wild. So I've talked about North Korea being the domino that might kick over World War III. I've also talked about Russia and Ukraine possibly, but really, I thought Venezuela and Guyana. I thought that this one would be a kind of a bingo card hit right here, because Venezuela and Guyana is something where the U.S. has kind of pledged this somewhat support to Guyana. And it would be one of many countries that would have to go to war all simultaneously or in an order to essentially separate the U.S. military. Right now, we have sent Navy down there, and now they are deploying warships. This is in the same week that they have essentially mobilized 4.5 million militia and they have actually put troops certain places they're activating, right? And then Venezuela is now deploying these warships and drones after the U.S. ships were sent to the region. So this is something where you don't know where the heck this is going to go. But if we are expecting anything to happen, a lot of people are looking at this next month. I'm not saying that war is starting the next month. I actually believe that it will guaranteed start by 2027. I've been thinking that 2026 would be the year. I think next year will be the year of World War III. Not the end of the world, but the start of a really, really big war. But some folks, a lot of people have been talking about in the next month because of the conditions. If China was to go to war, this would not just be going to war alone. All of their allies, which are now dependent on China. The thing is, if you are looking at a war with the United States, you have to envision a world after the United States. And who would be the replacement? It's not going to be Russia. It's not going to be Iran. It's not going to be North Korea. It's going to be China. Some would say India, but no, because they don't have even 5% of what the manufacturing power that China does. So we would need another country to kind of step in that place. And China is the closest. It is number 2 financially. So if you look at this, it makes a whole lot of sense that if China was taking Taiwan, that they would have their allies and people that want to be on the side of the table that wins to essentially have these wars and these things go on and split our military to take us out. All of these countries have motives and reasons why they don't like us. Obviously, many even Americans understand why many countries don't like us. We've done a lot of really, shady and really crappy operations and regime changes, and we've put our nose where most don't believe it belongs. That's kind of been our way. Since we were formed over the last few hundred years, we have been at war 93% of the time. How many of those wars were needed? You tell me in the comments down below. But there's been a lot of them, and especially in recent history, where we kind of went to war, lost a lot of lives, and really didn't get anywhere. Specifically, Vietnam wasn't the best, and neither was the Iraq War. Right? Lost a lot of people, and it eventually just kind of fizzled out, and we left $700 million worth of crap there for the bad guys to use against us in the future. In fact, it was pretty comical watching terrorists try to learn how to fly Black Hawks. Why do they have a Black Hawk? It doesn't make any sense. It's almost like somebody in our government, or many people in our government, were trying to set up something and actually give them those units. The whole pullout was not one of, something you would expect from the most powerful country in the world. Everybody has criticized the last president for that, but I think it's way bigger than the last president. The last president was, in my opinion, eating yogurts while somebody else pushes all the buttons. So what the heck happened there? As far as this goes, we have the guided missile cruiser, the USS Erie, and a nuclear-powered fast attack submarine, the USS Newport News, are due in the region next week. So they're on their way. It takes a long time for these slow ships to get there. And now you have Venezuela deploying their ships. In fact, on Tuesday, they actually dispatched 3 destroyers to the region to pressure Nicolas Maduro. So that was U.S. putting 3 destroyers there. They don't say exactly what they have deployed so far on Venezuela's side. But yeah, the move comes among these escalating tensions with Washington, which sent 3 guided missile destroyers and 4,000 Marines towards Venezuela last week to curb drug trafficking, right? To me, I think that there's a front story that everybody sees, and that story is not the actual story. Do they care about Fenny and all this stuff coming into our country? Yeah, but I think that they are getting intelligence on much worse threats, and they give us this one because nobody's scared of that. Nobody's scared that we are going to war on drugs. Our entire lives, we've heard about the war on drugs, and we've pretty much had kind of a running joke that the war on drugs will never, ever be won. So is this the president to win the war on drugs? Probably not. there's always going to be a place in the world where they are making them illegally, and there's always going to be people that are willing to make enough money or to get that high price dollar to move them. So is this going to stop it? I don't know. But is it actually the thing that's going on? Dex, do you get what I mean? Like, they are now sending destroyers down there, and they say it's because they're going to curtail drug trafficking. Are they going to do airstrikes on different manufacturing plants or places making cocaine and fentanyl like that? Or are they going to go against the cartels and cut out the network? I think it's because there is a plan in place with all of our adversaries to do some sort of coordinated event to try to take out the United States. But that's just my opinion. What's yours? Dex, what do you think about that?
Well, yeah, certainly there's something fishy going on. Can't imagine it's just the cartels. I mean, on one hand, you might think, okay, well, the cartels have gotten larger over the years, more powerful over the years, gone from just being armed and dangerous to being militarized and well-funded. And maybe having that too close to our borders has been an issue in addition to all the trafficking that happens. But I don't know that it's necessarily warranted the military rollout. Now we're at a different phase where they've been labeled terrorist organizations. Obviously, the military can be deployed in that, just like we did through the Middle East time and time again. So, yeah, something's about to spark off. What's the truth behind it? I don't know if we're going to know anytime soon. But even before then, just having these ships present and having them deployed, not even just from the U.S., but then Venezuela deploying their ships up against ours, is more than likely going to create an opportunity for them to clash. And it'll be interesting to see what the effects of those clashes are. Is it a peaceful thing like we see in Russia when we, intercept a bomber and escort it, out of the Alaskan ADIZ zone? Or will it be, contentious like you see with in the South China Sea, like the Philippines and China, where they're wielding knives or shooting water guns or pointing laser beams at each other. So I think it's a little different in South America, but I have a sneaking suspicion we may actually see something soon between the two.
That's kind of funny. Somebody says, does cocaine even exist anymore, or is it even around? No, I don't think it is. And I was in my early 20s at one point. I used to drink and party and do all of that. The last time I ever tried that stuff was from people that had alpaca clothing from they got the handmade clothing from another country, and they sold it at a tourist spot. And I won't say more than that, but they would go there once a year to get this clothing. And when they did, they snuck back some of the stuff from the actual source, right? Did that once, and that was probably 20 years ago, or probably 21 years ago or something. After that, and experiencing what it's supposed to be compared to the nasty, disgusting stuff that is smuggled and cut into the United States, it's pretty insane. I don't encourage anybody to do that kind of stuff, but especially now. Somebody said that it's all got the fentanyl in it. Everything has that in it now. Even they're finding it in weed dispensaries. They are finding that stuff in it. So it's really disgusting stuff. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, there was I just heard this on the radio today. I had to look it up. There was a major bust with the Coast Guard in Miami, I believe it was, or somewhere in that area. They offloaded 76,140 pounds of narcotics. Of that, 61,740 pounds of it was the cocaine.
See,
and they said it was enough to kill, had enough of the lethality to kill 23 million people.
Okay, so Miami's different, and I think Miami's never, I don't think it's ever gone out of Miami. It's got that Scarface vibe going. But in other places, yeah, it disappeared like a long time ago, and it evolved into this stuff now where you've got these people at Walmart freaking passing out, standing up, and it's just the worst stuff ever. And of course, everybody can latch onto the fact that they're going after this stuff because everyone has seen their major cities destroyed by it. They see family members destroyed by it. Some of you may have had your lives destroyed by it. I don't judge anybody that has had addiction or had any problems. You know, we have addiction in our family. I was an alcoholic when I was younger. Or I guess they say you're always an alcoholic, right? But, you know, with that kind of stuff, it's like it's affected all of us to the point where if there's a story and they say that they're going after drugs and drug trafficking and we're going to stop that, that's easy for people to latch onto and an easy thing for people to support. So I would see the optics of that for a PR department, you know, to say that that's why. But I don't see them sending in major destroyers and Navy in for all of this just to go after these cartels unless they have additional information that we don't have. And we know they do. That's just how it works. Here's my slight theory on this. And then if you look at this, and we've covered a lot of the things that are going on in Venezuela and up here through these islands, there's many places that they have found China is training. Cuba, of course, is working very closely with Russia, and these different places that have had these surveillance setups, you know, being put in, training setups in some of the smaller islands. I forget which one. Dominica, St. Lucia. There was a couple of these islands that they have found that they have. Oh, maybe it was Port-au-Prince. It was somewhere around here. They also found that they have Chinese soldiers stationed, and it's like if you look at what is actually happening here, I think that they're preparing for a massive attack, and nobody wants to say it. There's a lot of people in our community are hip to this. But the rest of the world thinks it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy. I think that this is a very, very long time plan to try to take down the United States. And it had a very, very successful last 4 years. You had so many people coming into our country that were unvetted, that just we don't know anything about them. And when you look at the age bracket, 18 to 25, buzz cut, wearing fatigues, all from a certain country that wants to take number one spot, well, that's freaking creepy. At the same time as buying all the farmland right outside of all of our military bases, infiltrating every piece of our infrastructure. It's really obvious to me what's going on. And Venezuela and Iran and all of these countries, all of these smaller wars, and the fact that none of them are actually going to peace. They all say, oh, yeah, we're willing to come to the table. They're all stalling. It's like they're all getting as much information from the Western allies and from the U.S. as they can, how they respond to things, how they treat different kinds of events, and they're planning for something. Meanwhile, in the ocean, China is practicing. All of these countries are practicing. They're all practicing to take out satellites. They're practicing to take out the underwater cables. They are practicing to take out our power grid. They're practicing to essentially pop up out of nowhere everywhere. They are practicing taking out our ports so we can't get anything in our country. And they're practicing taking out all communications, online and off. So it's something I think that, our family members are really going to get slapped in the face with once it eventually it gets attempted. I hope that's all it is attempted. What do you guys think? I'm crazy? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you, Wolverine Snicket. It's nice to see you too. You've been here a long time too. Thank you for gifting 5 badges to different Foogle family members. Looks like at least a few people got those. So thank you. Again, Spider, thank you for being here. And then it looks like we just got a super. Samuel Turner says, after September 3rd, China military parade, first good weather in China finally makes its move. Or after the 3rd, they do a massive, massive drill. I am making a prediction right now that if this isn't the time, what would happen is they would do a massive, massive, massive drill. Something that looks like the real thing, but they're calling it a drill, and that's a practice. Much like what Russia did when it had 160,000 soldiers at Ukraine's border exactly a year before they continued. And they left all of their gear. They left all of the mobile hospitals and the blood banks and all of that kind of stuff, all in artillery. They left it all on the border and said, psych, it was just a drill. a year exactly almost, they came back and they actually did it. I could see China doing that this year, and then next year actually coming in. We're starting this whole chain of events. And I think that chain of events, it actually relies on countries like Venezuela and Iran and Russia and North Korea to do their part to distract. And it was so crazy because I've been talking about this for years. It was just about 2 months ago that Mark Rutte of NATO said this plan. And because he said it, and because it's Mark Rutte, people are saying, oh, it's Mark Rutte and he's part of NATO. He's part of the problem. He's part of the powers that be, so he can't be right, or that he's propaganda or lying. It's crazy to me that he has basically quoted exactly what I've talked about for years, what Dex has talked about for years, what my peers have talked about for years, which is a coordinated plan between all these countries to spread out the United States. It just makes sense. If everybody says that that's how you take the United States down, why would they do anything else? You have to split up our military. You have to split up our Navy. You have to have all of these things happen at the same time for it to go down. So, again, give me your opinion down in the comments below. I'd love to hear it. Not everybody's going to agree. Inquiring Minds, I'm preparing for a massive event. And I'm doing it a little bit at a time, obviously, because everybody is in the same boat struggling right now. Inquiring Minds, thank you for being a member for 23 months. Glad to see you boys back. Well, thank you. And Dub Coco, thank you for the super. Appreciate that. W.I.S. Jen for being in the chat as well. High Tech Computers LLC, thank you so much for the support as well. And then Randy Man and All Consuming Jaws. I did want to say big thank you to Derek. Thank you for the PayPal donation. I appreciate everybody down on the blue list over this last month. Again, I think there were 3 or 4 of you when we weren't even doing shows. So thank you. I couldn't say thank you enough for helping support us and this channel, especially through this move. It's been absolute hell. So I can't say thank you enough. We don't ask for anything, but we definitely are very thankful for what we do get and have to say thank you and show our appreciation for it. So thank you. Again, make sure to go also check out Energy. This is not only one of our affiliates, but it's a thing we actually believe in. As far as the Energy solar generator, the only reason we haven't been affiliating with these guys for the last year is because they put a pause on all units. You can't go and buy their Flex 1500, which was their first civilian model. This is the one that is actually when it won the SBIR Phase 2 contract for the U.S. Army. So this is a absolutely killer solar generator. If you want to get a solar generator that's tough, that's going to be able to freaking fall off the back of a Humvee, that's going to be able to heat in extreme cold temperatures, that's going to be able to cool down in warmer temperatures, and that's expandable. You can freaking load up the batteries. It has these latches that take 1 second, just click, and then boom, you can switch it from 1 battery to 5 batteries. You can take it with you to work, power your power tools, charge all your stuff. This isn't just like a battery bank where you're charging your phone. You can actually power. You can power your lifestyle. So again, make sure to go check it out. Marfooglenews.com/energy, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. Again, this can also not only charge super fast from the wall, but you can also get some panels or use your existing panels and charge it from the sun. As long as the sun comes up the next day, which hopefully it comes up every day for the rest of our lives, you will have power. So it's a big deal, and it's front loaded. It's not going to have a backdoor in it from China. If you go and look, I'm sure there's going to be people that are going to go, oh, I'll just get the Amazon one. The Amazon one might be a couple $100 cheaper, but I promise you, you're going to regret it when you go and look up the companies that are making it. If the whole big deal is we're going to war with a certain country, I would highly recommend not getting a generator that is controlled or that is loaded in that country. So again, go check it out, marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. And again, that there is no 7-month wait like there was. If they have them in stock, if you can hit buy now, that means it's going to ship out immediately and you'll get it. You don't have to wait. That was another issue that was going on after that contract went into place. They have a small batch. Once it's gone, it's gone. And then Dex, let's talk about Trump mulling the travel ban for EU officials over the Orwellian censorship law.
Yeah, so he's going hard against potentially, they're saying, potentially going to be going hard against the politicians there that are responsible for the Digital Services Act, specifically in the European Union. The Digital Services Act is one in which he's claiming is used to censor Americans, and it puts the different stranglehold laws against social media platforms where they either can't run or they have to provide information, or in some cases, like in the UK, the new laws are requiring identification of people, and age identification and verification. It's sort of like the rush you saw everybody run to get VPNs, like NordVPN, which I think everybody should have, because you never know if you're next to be in a position of censorship and you can't get access to information without having to put up an identity. And that's why something like a VPN is so critical. But he is threatening to, or they're saying he's threatening to come out with this policy that is going to take away their access to travel, like to have visas and whatnot into the U.S. So they would be restricted from coming here, as a restriction against them for creating these rules. So it is good on one hand to see him call them Orwellian. It's good on one hand to see our president standing up, at least for this notion that what is being put in place in Europe, which a lot of us fear is coming here, because we don't want it here. We don't want to have that type of restriction. We don't want to have that type of censorship happening. But it is happening. We even see it at the state level, at least with the age restrictions, because it's real simple for everybody to latch on to, protecting children, and everybody wants to protect children. Nobody wants to say they don't want to do that. That's why would you not want to do that? That's a great thing. But then the downside is it all of a sudden puts people in the camp of, okay, now if you're going to access certain things on the internet, now you're going to have to identify yourself. And that is a part of the freedom of speech and the freedom of anonymity that a lot of people don't want to lose. So.
Well, and the censorship, and as far as the age verification stuff, this is stuff that is going live in almost every platform, and people need to know about this. This is something that is going to quickly affect a lot of people. The AI, we talked about this. AI age verification just went live with this platform, where so use myself for example. If I normally watch just regular adult content, that's fine. If my kid ends up grabbing my phone, or if I leave my account logged in somewhere and they watch too many kids' videos, that AI age verification could say this is a kid's phone and they are under 13 and they are not allowed to have an account, right? That is something that they're doing. They're not telling you they're doing it, and they're basically saying, hey, this is how it's going to work. That is my basic understanding. Dex, I don't know how much you know about that, but that's what I've heard everybody worried about. I know that there's a lot of worry about games like GTA 6 even. They're saying with all these new age verification things going in, that games like games like GTA 6 will be essentially hidden. GTA 5 now, I guess, is like hidden on these app stores, that major networks. I think Steam gaming, got rid of a lot of adult themed games, or at least you have to really, really search to even find them instead of suggesting them. That's kind of insane, if you ask me. And this is just one step towards this kind of IDing every single person on the internet. That is what's coming. It's not. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I don't think it's a theory. I think it makes sense. If a government wants to track and trace every person, which they do, it is in their best interest to not only track, trace, and tax everybody. It makes complete sense that they would do these things. Dex, do you agree, or what do you think about that?
No, it totally makes sense. And I think that's exactly, it's a path that we're going down. And it's easy because if you just go back and relate to real world transactions, like we, for the longest time, said, hey, we have rating systems on movies, and, children can't rent movies, or, back in the day when you rented a movie, you couldn't rent a movie that was rated R or better. or over 13 if you were underage. Well, I don't think many kids under 13 had the ability to rent something, but you know what I mean. Same thing when you bought a video game. Back when you would go to the store and buy a video game, you had to be a certain age for certain games. There was restrictions on that. So I think they want to replicate that in the online world, but the only way to actually do that is to then bring about, some form of identity. And I think that's the part that really is scary, because it's real easy to take it from, okay, well, there's this one thing here that we have a traditional understanding of ratings for games, ratings for movies, and apply it to, oh, by the way, this thing called social media seems a little scary. We don't necessarily think everybody should have access to it, or we need to identify anybody that's under 18 that has access to it. So therefore we should identify everybody, or we take it to the next level and say AI, now we want to know who's using AI and what have they said to it. And, because it could be a child, and so before you know it, every single tool that is out there that we're using online is turned into an excuse for, we have to provide our identity. And now they know, and they can at least, they may not be tracking it in real time, but they can quickly subpoena and grab all the information about your entire history of, whether it be interactions on social media, interactions on a gaming system, interactions on anything, because that identity is now tied back to it.
Well, here's a perfect example. When Grok released its last version, I think they're already on 1 or 1.5 further on. I don't know what version they're on. But Grok 3, I think it was, 3.0, whatever it was. Grok, Elon Musk was kind of competing, or he was competing with ChatGPT and a few of the others. I can't remember them all offhand. But he wanted to release it, and he released it basically fast, and he just wanted to release it and get it out and be the first one to release it with all these crazy new features. And he released it, and a guy on Twitter actually used it in the first few days to essentially look up plans on how to take Elon out. He looked up a plan to take Schumer out, right? He was able to say, hey, what would be the best way to take this guy out? And it actually gave a accurate plan where they would be. It had public sourced information that it grabbed from everywhere, and it was able to tell Elon's location. They said, you're going to want to use this or this. You're going to want to be about 1.5 miles away. You're going to want to wait at 5 o'clock. He's going to come out of the SpaceX building, walk over here. I mean, it was really creepy. He had to black out a lot of the actual instructions from Grok because it was so accurate. Something like that, they're going to say, oh, well, people can do that now, or here's the solution. We'll ID everybody so we don't have to stop this AI from being useful, so people can look up certain things, but it will come with that double-edged sword. Like if you look up the wrong thing, it's going to flag, and it's going to pull up things. Right?
Yeah, there was a huge lawsuit that just was announced today against OpenAI for ChatGPT against a family who lost their child due to self incident that was completely, as far as the accusation in the lawsuit, perpetuated by the platform that the person was using, to the extent of telling them what to do, how to do things, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to go into details because it's one of those touchy subjects if you talk about on this platform, it can get flagged. But you guys should go look into that, because that will be, it's making nationwide headlines. It will continue to make nationwide headlines, but it's one of those subjects that's going to pull at the heartstrings of everyone and say, yes, we want to know who everyone is that's using those systems. And we want to know if they've ever said anything that might look like something that they should be flagged, so that we can protect them. And under the guise of protection, then we take away everybody's privacy, so to speak. And I think that's a perfect example. It's going to be a huge one. They're probably going to win millions and millions of dollars, because the evidence that has been presented it's just unfathomable that this system was saying the things it's saying. And if you guys want to look it up, just go. It's all over the news. You should go look into it if you have any interest in it.
It makes you think, why did it say it?
Here,
Why did it say it? It makes you wonder, like, did they open up the faucet so it could say it in this instance? So then later down the road, they could work with these other politicians or other people and say, hey, we need to be able to ID everybody and to be able to track and trace what people are doing in these systems, right? To protect our youth and protect our young ones. See, here the thing is, and we've had comments on stories like this or any story. Heck, if you look at some of the famous people that have predicted things and had theories about things, you say the wrong thing about something like this, you can end up in court and lose your entire livelihood, right? But the thing is people go, well, why would they do that? And how in the world? Nobody would ever do that. There are powers that be in this world that look at collateral damage as a daily kind of a game. So collateral damage is something they just absolutely don't care about. If they can achieve their goal, but 100,000 people perish, they would do it. I'm sure there's plenty of people at the very top that have absolutely no care about the people living in regular neighborhoods outside their gated bunkers, right? So, I mean, just look at our politicians. $12,000 dress to work. These people aren't relating to us. They're relating to each other. And they're not even at the top of the food chain. They're all just trying to snake their way up to it. They're trying to get that invite to that forest so they can watch the creepy plays. And then we have Trump calls for RICO charges against Soros, over this violent protest support. Foundation abruptly sever ties with this rogue event. Dex, do you want to talk about this? And this is absolutely nuts too, because and it also involves the foundation, right? So,
the president put out a tweet or a truth or whatever you want to call it, calling out George and saying, and his wonderful radical left son should be charged with RICO because of their support of the protests and much more all throughout the United States of America. We're not going to allow these lunatics to rip apart America anymore, never giving it so much as a chance to breathe and be free. He and his group of psychopaths have caused great damage to our country. That includes his crazy West Coast friends. I assume he's implying Bill Gates there or other people. And he said, be careful. We're watching you. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So that's a pretty strong message coming from the president of the United States towards, him and others. And there's, to George, his son, and then presumably Gilly.
Yeah, I mean, there's been so much debate on who the shadows in the darkness are. Some question that this guy could be the head. I personally don't think so. I think that the people that are actually running stuff, and he might be, one of them. He might be the public facing one, but most of them are people you will never, ever, ever hear. These are people that have already had an agreement with all of the platforms that they don't list their names. Imagine having that kind of power when anybody, New York Times does an article about you. They make one call and it's gone. Those people exist. That's not in the movies. That's not, in fictional books. That's reality. Just look at some of the stuff that came out in court with Diddy. Diddy was able to make a call and essentially end somebody's career because of the people he knew. He was able to stop bad articles and bad press about him in its tracks by essentially using different connections to stop careers, right? So that's something on the lower end of things. You could only imagine what Mr. EpiPen could have done, or any of these people. Think about Mr. Billy. Think about, oh, hey, Mr. Billy, we're not going to do this anymore with you. Oh, really? Well, I'm going to call all of your friends and we're going to stop our our group from giving millions of dollars to your hospital or to this or to that. And we're going to, obviously stop funding this or this or that. And you're going to stop getting your, extra change. That kind of thing could end up controlling things. And then make sure to go check out My Patriot Supply if you haven't already. If you don't have food in your fridge and if you don't have any kind of long-term survival food, this is a great, great company to go through for affordable as far as freeze-dried food, because freeze-dried food lasts up to 25 plus years. This is going to be good until into the 2050s. So if this is something that you've been looking into, you were obviously going to see that a lot of the freeze-dried food that you'll find in like the Walmarts, the single meals, they are super, super expensive. The best way to buy is bulk, and the most affordable way to buy is My Patriot Supply. Again, go over to marfooglenews.com/prep. Now, we have other brands and things like this for different kind of tastes, as far as if your thing is like, oh, we want something with color-coded packaging and nutrients and things like this. There's other options for different things. This is our recommendation, especially those that are on a budget, because you can get a 3-month set here for less than what you would go to the grocery store and buy your normal groceries for. That's the crazy part. I mean, shoot, we might get into such a bad situation, maybe even during World War III, where we go into a depression, where something like this, people would wish they could get a 3-month at the price that they are going for now. And the price that they're going for now is 3 or 4 times higher than it was in 2019. So, yeah. And it keeps going up. It's something that, it might go up again 3 or 4 times in the next 5 years, but you'll still have 20 years left on the shelf. So you just add water or cook in sauce, and it brings it back to life. It holds in most of the nutrients, and it holds in most of the flavor. So it's a really, really, really great way to prep. I know that a lot of our Fugel family, a lot of my mods have, of course, huge either collections of dehydrated or freeze-dried food. And, of course, if you have questions, a lot of them probably would be able to answer them. Harley Newman, thank you for the massive support, says fellow Washingtonian. Thank you, Harley Newman, and I appreciate your support. Thank you. Samuel Turner, thank you. Let's see here. We have Russia is only playing hardball because they know China will make its move after September 3rd. We all know our power network will be first to go. Well, Samuel Turner, I hope, the last couple of days you've been saying it's definitely happened. I would say don't put all your eggs in one basket, but that is guaranteed. The first thing that any military operation is going to do is it's going to take out power and communications. At least that's going to be the attempt. So I believe that too, but I'm hoping that it doesn't happen. I'm not somebody that wants the sky to fall. I hope that, my kids don't have to go through this. I hope that I never have to sit in darkness for 2 years. But that is something that I believe may happen, so I'm going to prep for it. And then Samuel Turner, after watching you sweat, I think you should spend this on buying a gallon of ice cream for you and your family. We actually have tons of ice cream right now, and I have never been a huge ice cream person, but we have so many different kinds over this last week. It's insane. Every time we go to the store and we are sweating our butts off, it's like, what looks better than a huge tub of vanilla ice cream or popsicles? I seriously ate a popsicle this week for the first time since I was like 12. So 30 years almost or something. Dex, have you eaten a popsicle at all in the...
I can't remember the last time I had a popsicle.
I couldn't either.
I had ice cream tonight, actually.
Isn't that funny?
That was the first in a while too.
I just, a popsicle was, especially like my mom, we were super, super cheap, super, super poor. She would always make like Kool-Aid popsicles. We would make our own popsicles. We never bought popsicles. I'm sure some of you guys did this too. And she had those molds. Dex, do you remember the molds that they used to have back in the day?
Yep.
You just drop a stick in it and you'd make your own.
Yeah, you just pour the Kool-Aid in.
She would make gross, like chocolate milk popsicles. They were not like fudgesicles. She called them fudgesicles. They were not. They were disgusting. Anyways, tell me your story of of popsicles? Tell me something. Put some sort of comment down there. If you can, press the like button. I don't tell you guys to do it. In fact, the chat is better at telling you guys to do that. So thank you guys. Much love. Again, thank you, Dex, so much for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Much love. Great job, brother. And have a great night, everybody.
Thank you. Again, 2025, Deborah L., Denise D., Janine G., Ann E., Carol A., Tara M. Thank you guys for being some of the top supporters on PayPal this year. And then make sure to go thank your mods over on marfooglenews.com/friends. You can actually go subscribe or see any of their links, any of their books. Some of them are authors like Chance Paladin. Bones has a budding TikTok. And go check his stuff out. Ilea, of course, RGL Harris, and Wages World is constantly putting out awesome info. So make sure to go check them out. Of course, one of my favorite people, Ilea, is over there. So make sure to go check her out there. Jammer, thank you. Optical Gem, and of course, CJ Blaze and Rip Curl. All right, you guys, have a great night. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. About my soul on the south side, where they teach everyone how to ride. Southside, where they teach everyone how to ride. The world's doomed in. I'm so happy that I'm found by my friends. I just wish it wasn't. The world's doomed in. I'm so happy that I'm found by my friends. Speaking of friends, make sure if you want to stick around, just stay in the chat. You'll be ported over. If you're watching the replay, you can find Marfoogle Jams. You can just type in Marfoogle Jams, look for today's thumbnail, and you'll find it. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow.